Member for Nelson Creston.
Thank you very much, Honourable Speaker, and it's great to be back here in the summer months. Although the Kootenays are definitely the most beautiful place in the world in the summer, I do appreciate the reprieve from the heat wave there. So I wanted to talk this morning about some of the rights that new parents have in this province and sadly how they're not being realized here in BC. So in the last century, Honourable Speaker, the women's and labour movement have made great strides in securing families' maternity and parental leave rights when welcoming a new child into the family. So realizing these rights, might be surprised to hear that realizing these rights first began in 1921 right here in British Columbia. I won't belabor how those rights were expressed and exercised at that time. It was very progressive for the day, maybe not so progressive from today's standards, but nevertheless, that's where the history began. We move forward to about 50 years, and in 1971, we see unemployment insurance becoming starting to provide financial support and therefore financial security that new families often need. And we know that this is the case, Honourable Speaker. When families need to take time off of work, they're often faced with the fact that they're going to be losing wages and therefore the ability to pay for the new costs that always come with new babies. And so unemployment insurance back in 1971 decided that they would start to provide families with a portion of their wages. Today, that continues. The program is now employment insurance, and every new mother is entitled to a full 17 weeks off of work and to claim her employment insurance benefits. All parents have access to 35 or 37 weeks, it depends, but the maximum here in BC is 37 weeks of parental leave in the first year of parenting a child. So, Honourable Speaker, these benefits, the ability to take time off work securely, the ability to have some financial insurance program while you're taking time off work, the benefits of those have been researched, and the research is in that this is a good thing to be doing for both parents and children, but most notably, all of us. We all benefit as a society when children have the time needed in that first year of life to bond with their parents. We've learned that this attachment plays a very important role in the development of children right into adulthood. Honourable Speaker, it's bonds that last a lifetime. It's the ability to learn. It's the ability to seek out supports. A lot of things that in our day-to-day life we often take for granted start at that early age. And of course, the financial security is also important because child poverty truly, Honourable Speaker, benefits no one. No one in our society benefits from child poverty, especially children just starting out in life. They need food. They need shelter. They need the basics to be provided for them. They need a roof over their head. Everybody needs that, and particularly when they are most vulnerable as children. So while on leave, parents are able to access their unemployment insurance that they paid into while working. I think that's an important point, Honourable Speaker, is that parents have paid into their employment insurance while they're working. It's their insurance to collect. And that generates normally about 55% of average weekly earnings that they're allowed to collect. For low-income families, they are eligible to receive a family supplement so that they do not sink into deep poverty, and that can bring them up to about 80% of their wages. Mr. Speaker, these rights are for all Canadians, including parents who work part-time, even parents who rely on income supports because they have a disability or for another reason. Those are their rights, Honourable Speaker. However, This government is having trouble understanding those rights, and this is how that takes place, Honourable Speaker. If somebody is receiving PWD or income supports, they are allowed to work up to a certain amount, and this government has even acknowledged that they are allowed to work and that it's important in terms of building, having employability skills. But each person is also allowed to take time off of work should they need to have a baby or to go on parental leave. They then collect their EI that they paid into. The sad reality, Honourable Speaker, is that when they do so, they tell the government that they've collected their EI, and then this government takes their mat leave and parental leave benefits away dollar for dollar every month. So no longer do they not have their full wages. When they need them most, they have a new baby in the family with new costs. They don't even have their EI, and they are plunged into poverty, Honourable Speaker. This program of taking away EI benefits from new parents is doing nothing other than contributing to child poverty in this province, a province that has had the highest rate of child poverty for 10 years. Honourable Speaker, this is wrong. If the federal government makes a law that entitles people to access their employment insurance for maternity leave and paternity leave, only to have a provincial law that says they're going to take it away and treat it as a revenue source, Honourable Speaker, this is morally wrong in our society and absolutely ignores the rights of families, the rights that the labour movement and the women's movement have fought for close to a century, Honourable Speaker. It's time that we saw change in this province, and I look forward to hearing the comments from the member opposite.
Thank you. Member for Comox Valley.
Well, thank you very much, Honourable Speaker, and thank you to the member opposite. And I know we do share some common values. Values mean making sure that vulnerable British Columbians have those supports. And I remember last May, the member opposite talking in the media about a specific incident with a mother who was expecting. She was a mother. She had 2 existing children, I understand, and a husband who was unable to work. I believe the husband, according to the media anyway, suffered from severe medical depression. They were on income assistance, or PWD, and getting about $1,400 a month. And the mother was able to earn about $1,000 a month. I know there's some challenges. The $1,000 a month will not be earned when she goes on when the baby is born in the fall. If income assistance was there for her, it would be at most about 80%, so about $800. But one thing the member opposite failed to remind people at home and in this chamber is that there are a number of tax credits available both provincially and federally to families. For example, about $7,000 for one child under the age of 6. If you have 2 children under the age of 6, you get to about $13,500. If you have 3 children under the age of 6, it could be up to $20,000, which was not accounted as income. That being said, one of the things I'm really proud about this government is we're continually looking for ways to evolve supports for vulnerable British Columbians. I just want to give the members opposite and those at home some examples. I was really pleased to see in Budget 2015 the Finance Minister rise in this chamber and obviously talking about how we've balanced the budget, we are in a surplus, we're moving forward, we're making key investments. And one of those key investments we were able to do was we were able to bring about an exemption for child support for families on income assistance. And I think that is absolutely essential. Why do we do it? It is the right thing to do. We did it because we also heard from British Columbians. During Accessibility 2024 conversations, it was loud and clear that this is something people wanted to see improved. We had consultations with specific social groups and individuals and heard it, and I was really pleased to see that 5,400 children or 3,200 families were impacted in a positive way by that key social change in this government. But, Madam Speaker, we didn't stop there. The single parent initiative that the Minister of Social Development and Social Innovation brought about in early March, I think is, in my time in government, the single most impactful social change that we've seen since I've been elected. It impacts over 16,000 single parents, Mr. Speaker, and over 20,000 individual children could be impacted as well. Now, what happens in the single parent initiative? Well, tuition and education costs for programs that last up to 12 months will be covered by the government. We'll do that to make sure families have an opportunity to engage in the workforce. But as a parent myself, Honourable Speaker, I know there's extra challenges. Childcare is always a challenge. Now, fortunately, I was in a situation when I was working as a teacher that I was able to make a reasonable wage and make those payments, but sometimes people on low income cannot. And that's why in this single parent initiative, full childcare costs are covered during the training time, and transportation for the parent to go to school and get home from school is also covered. This is giving parents an opportunity to make a real impact, not just in the here and now, but for the lives of their children. And when they're done their training, Honourable Speaker, we'll cover childcare costs for another year after that training is complete. Families will also receive health supplement coverage for 1 year after training is complete. That includes dental and optical assistance, and premium fees are exempted for MSP and pharmacare. This will help families make sure that they are looking after their children going forward. And Mr. Speaker, as well, those are just two, but I forgot the third one. Also, before we made the single parent initiative announcement, there was an increase of monthly earning exemptions for in early March as well. Mr. Speaker, I stood in this chamber many times and in many different areas in this chamber, both at this end of the legislature and at that end, and I've talked about the work is not done. We want to make sure we're listening to British Columbians. We want to make sure we're making those key social changes that will have a real impact on individuals, be they adults or be they children or be they families. And Mr. Speaker, I am really pleased to say that in my time here, I have seen some significant change go forward. Not only that, Mr. Speaker, we have also seen an opportunity to increase the number of post-secondary spaces in British Columbia, increase to a record number in the history of British Columbia. Why? Because we want people to have the opportunity, if they are so inclined and so make the sacrifice, to maybe train to become a doctor in northern British Columbia, or maybe become a welder in Campbell River, or maybe go to Victoria and become a high school teacher. The reality is, one of the things we can do is provide those key supports in the social sector, but also at the same time make sure we do it at an affordable rate and we grow the economy. So those jobs are there for individuals that when they enter the workforce, they can actually help themselves and help their families. And those who cannot be helped, we want to make sure we continue that good work, Mr. Speaker.
Thank you, Member.
And I'm so proud that we've done it today.
Government House Leader. Oh yeah, sorry. I didn't realize you hadn't replied. Member from Nelson Creston.
Thank you very much, Honourable Chair. Always here to help, to remind about the rules. I find it interesting that the member opposite, and not surprised that the member opposite, Honourable Speaker, has pointed out to some of the new announcements that have occurred this year from this Liberal government, and he should feel proud that this Liberal government decided to end the child support clawback and put forward an initiative that's going to help single parents get into the workforce. It took a while for this government to get there, Honourable Speaker. The member did not mention that the call to end the child support clawback came from this side of the House and was able to go out and talk to people all over across British Columbia who added their voice to the call to end the child support clawback and began pressuring this government to do just that. And I do want to commend the member opposite that he actually listened, because that doesn't happen very often with this government, Honourable Speaker. But that came about because it was an idea coming from the New Democratic Caucus, Honourable Speaker. Another idea that this government has implemented around the single parent initiative, well, those were things that existed in the 1990s under New Democratic government, Honourable Speaker. And I know this opposite members of the House always like to say that there's no ideas coming from this side, but time and time again, we see them take them. And that's fine as long as we're doing the good work of the people of British Columbia. And Luke Dickinson and Katie Eldred, Jessica and Tony Alford, they are families right now being impacted by the maternity leave clawback, Honourable Speaker, and they're hoping to see that this government will take this good idea of ending the mat leave clawback and run with it once again, Honourable Speaker, because for them, what this is going to mean, What this is going to mean in their household is the difference between making all the bill payments, making sure that they're able to get diapers, put enough food on the table, to be able to take the children to the doctor when the doctor is needed, to do so many things that are necessary, to buy a crib. Some of the basic necessary things that are involved with raising a child. They are losing income and trying to match their budget with $1,000 a month lost in income is a struggle. And they're desperately worried that they're going to be able to stay in their home and to continue paying rent. I think that we owe it to Luke. We owe it to Katie. We owe it to Jessica and her husband Tony, but most importantly, Honorable Speaker, we owe it to their children, and we owe it to all British Columbians to make sure that no policy in government is creating child poverty from day one.
Thank you, member.